Okay, I'm Jimmy Jones, and like I said before, I was your sheriff from 2007 to 2018. In Knox County, we have term limits, which y'all are aware of. I've set out one term, and I'm running again. It worked out good for me. My mother was diagnosed with dementia, so I got to spend some time with her before she passed away. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what I hear from people in this community when I go to their door. And maybe some of it will surprise you, some of it won't. The number one thing that I have people talk about is the homeless. If you notice, in the last 3 or 4 years, the homeless population in Knox County is exploding. We used to never see the homeless people out here. Now they're everywhere. Now, and I'm sure everybody in here knows where there's a tent city somewhere close to you. I was leaving a funeral home the other night at Minot's, and I went back by the Walmart in the Alda, and I saw a group of people standing there. I thought, what's going on? So I just turned in there and went by. There's a camp set up behind Walmart in Alda over there that looks like the High Regency. We can't let that happen. When we see these places like San Francisco and Los Angeles, they didn't happen overnight. It started just the way it's starting now. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't have to be compassionate. And there are places that offer services for these people. When I was sheriff, we had a group of inmates and officers that would go and remove these camps. You can't let them set up temporary permanent housing. It's not safe for them, and it's not safe for the people in the neighborhood. There are services downtown where they can be provided for the things they need. But we have to really be careful because in the county, it's growing very quickly, and before you know it, it'll be out of control and you can't get it back. And some people say, well, it's not really a law enforcement function. Well, it is a law enforcement function. You send a service guy from Farragut to go out into the Greenway in Farragut and tear down the homeless camp. It won't work. There's got to be law enforcement, there's got to be authority. And I was kind of surprised by that, but that was probably the number one thing that people wanted to talk about. Another thing also is the 287G program that we started about the deportation of illegal immigrants who commit crimes. Now make sure you understand, we're not going out and looking for these people just because they're an illegal immigrant. They have to commit a crime before the 287G kicks in. That means they have to come to jail. They have to be charged with a crime. Then our people, our sheriff's office people, as agents of the government, start a process to see whether they're deported or not. And the main reason that people get deported is because they've been deported at least multiple times before. I mean, here's a guy that's committing crime that's already been deported 2 times, and he's back here again. That's what this program is for. It's not to single out hardworking people who are trying to make a better living for their family and themselves. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for people that are in the community committing crimes that are here illegally. And it's such a small percentage. It's 0.2% of people who are deported. But that's what it's made for. It's made to get the worst of the worst. And that's what this program does. But don't be fooled, because it is a 2-pronged program. One is law enforcement and one is corrections. We don't do the law enforcement one. We only do the corrections, which means you have to be arrested and you have to come to jail before it kicks in. The third thing they want to talk about is officers in schools. And that's very, very important. We see all over the country what happens in our schools. Right now we're 10 officers down from where we were when I was the sheriff. 10 officers. Some officers are having to watch 3 and 4 schools. And it's only a matter of time. We've been so lucky so far to not have that many incidents. But when the numbers start dropping, and it was always one of my, it always mattered to me to say, when you drop your kids off at school, we're going to take care of them. They're going to be safe. And if we're not careful, we're getting away from that. So we've got to start paying attention to what we've done. In the last 4 years, we've lost over 500 officers, employees from the sheriff's office. 500. That's half of the whole workforce. So we've got to do better. We've got to do better recruiting. We've got to do better we've got to be hiring officers from these other places. You know, you hear these stories about Portland and Seattle and Philadelphia and all these other places. They are losing police officers, but not in East Tennessee. There's no reason for anybody to find another job in East Tennessee. East Tennesseans love law enforcement. They embrace law enforcement. We don't have to defund the police. Sure, we have some protests, and sure, we have a couple of city council people who want to talk about it, but we don't have that here. Nobody's tried to cut police budgets. Nobody's tried to do away with the officers. It doesn't happen here. So we've got to pay attention to what's going on, and we're going to make sure that we keep our good, dedicated officers here working. And everybody knows that they, you know, surely they should make more money than they do. Absolutely. But there's some things coming up in commission. A couple of commissioners are trying to get a resolution passed that will provide officers a 2.5% cost of living increase every year. They're not guaranteed that now. And then if there's any surplus money left in the budget for the sheriff's office salaries, then the sheriff could take that money and supplement the officers with more of a pay raise than the 2.5%. So those are some of the things that I hear from this community, and those are the things we want to keep an eye on.